I love when women from other countries or cultures speak about what they see as far as things that women are going through. A woman posted in the 2X chromosome subreddit saying, in South Korea, saying, I support feminism gets you treated like a schnazi. She says, in South Korea, feminism has become so stigmatized that openly saying I support feminism can result in severe social consequences, ranging from online harassment to real world ostracization. I know I kind of fumbled that. My bad. Y'all know the word I'm saying. To put it mildly, feminism here is treated almost like Nazism. Many women are forced to stay silent about even the most basic support for gender equality because the backlash is immediate and relentless. A recent example illustrates this perfectly. A Korean female YouTuber known as Summer in New York linked to video simply stated in one of her videos, "Isn't it natural for women to support feminism?" The response was overwhelming, but not in a positive way. Thousands of Korean men flooded her comment section with misogynistic slurs, sexual harassment, and cruel mockery. The situation grew so toxic, she had to shut down her comment section entirely. This isn't an isolated case. In Korea, any public expression of feminist thought is often met with coordinated hate campaigns. On male-dominated online forums such as DC Inside, users regularly post threads ridiculing women and branding feminism as a mental illness or a cult worse than Scientology. These communities actively encourage harassment, doxing, and public shaming of anyone associated with feminism. The societal atmosphere has become so unhealthy that even teenage girls are internalizing the stigma. Many young women still in high school already believe that feminism is bad because that is the dominant narrative they hear from classmates, teachers, and the media. Peer pressure and fear of being labeled a femi, a derogatory shorthand in Korean, often led to bullying and even school violence. Saying you're a feminist can make you a target for ostracism or harassment on campus. As a women's rights activist living in Korea, I find this climate deeply exhausting. Turn on YouTube or check the comment section of any news article and you'll see it flooded with vitriol against women and feminists. The phrase feminism is evil has practically become a social norm here. Repeated so often it's accepted as fact. In a chilling way, it has become a form of self-policing. Women attack other women for being feminists just to avoid being branded one themselves. Meanwhile, the international image of South Korea tells a very different story. Thanks to K-pop and K-dramas, global audiences often imagine Korea as modern, progressive, and glamorous. But the harsh reality is that inside the country, almost 99 out of 100 men view feminism as abnormal, radical, or even dangerous. It's a suffocating double reality, admired abroad, toxic at home. That's why I wanted to share this here. The world needs to know that behind the global pop culture export, Korean women are living in a society where advocating for basic gender equality can get you treated like a pariah, or worse, like a schnazi. And right now, I'm worried that creators like Summer will soon face waves of malicious videos and hate campaigns targeting her reputation. I hate that so many women just speaking out about what women and girls go through globally. It gets them ostracized. It gets them, it puts targets on their back or whatnot. But this is what women go through. You can't just bring things up about the global condition of women because what that does, it says, okay, if women are facing this globally, if they're being harmed or taken out by some kind of predator, what is the problem? They don't want to get to the root of the problem because they know the root of the problem and they don't want to name it. Because if they name it, say it out loud, then something would have to change. And then that's something that hits a little close to home for a certain demographic. I'll just leave it there. Let's look at some of the comments. Y'all already know what I'm trying to say without me saying it. But let's look at some of the comments. This person hones in on this part. Thanks to K-pop and K-dramas, global audiences often imagine Korea as modern, progressive, and glamorous, saying, I promise you, as a person outside of Korea nor of Korean descent, that is not the case for all perspectives. K-pop has always struck me as borderline slavery with some extra steps. And I see it too, because we've already seen what happened with all of the boy bands and the constant practicing, the sequestering away from people, the always need to be on. That never looked particularly glamorous to me. That looked like hell, kind of. And it's an unnatural situation where they have to look a certain way, and that is their job to stay a certain weight. We've seen that. Many of us know that that's not particularly healthy. Long Consideration says, and K-pop doesn't represent Korea at all. Temp89 says, yup, just rumors of being a feminist can get you fired. In South Korea, there are signs on the subway escalator saying to watch out for upskirt photos and leaflets in hotel rooms saying how to use your phone to scan for hidden cameras. It also has a plummeting marriage rate. The Guru says, and a plummeting birth rate, humming as I type. But it deserves to plummet, because if you don't like women, if you don't think women should be able to speak about women's issues, the birth rate and the marriage rate needs to plummet to hell. All right, she says, humming as I type. All the world over, so easy to see. People everywhere just want to be free. Give women autonomy, and they want to exercise it. If they don't want to have children, the entire social system collapses. The solution is to make Korea a place where women are happy and want to live, want to be part of. All it takes is treating them as valued partners in the future of the country. Treat them as valued partners. But a partner would have to be a human. You would have to respect that person's humanity. And I don't think that they're ready to make that gigantic leap yet. This person at the bottom, Tad, says, conservatives don't actually care about the birth rate. The goal is subjugation of women. The birth rate is just the excuse they're using right now over there and right now over here in the United States as well. Antique Obligation says, yep, when I was on Twitter, I witnessed how South Korean women were treated just for existing outside the male gaze and what they expected women to do. Just saying things uplifting women would push them into the category of feminists and therefore literal schnazis. One of my favorite Korean idols, Irene from Red Velvet, faced controversy and was bashed on the internet simply for being spotted reading a book that was allegedly labeled as feminist. It's absolutely wild to be a woman, let alone a woman who speaks up and has feminist values in Korea. If a woman is known as a feminist, she can face life-threatening situations, harassment, threats, abuse, and it goes beyond the internet. Throwaway says, thank you for sharing your country's climate with us. It's so important for us women to be in solidarity globally. I appreciate you being a women's rights activist, even knowing that it comes with such risk. If I may ask, what kind of things do you do for activism? Is there any way that we can support your work? And how I'm supporting the work is by creating a community where women feel free to share what they are seeing in their areas, their cultures, their news reports. And I do try to get to as many perspectives as possible, because we do need to know and understand that we might be free here, but we can see what's going on over there. And that's not right over there. So we need to do what we can and lend our voices and our support as we can. So it is important to continue these conversations. This person right here says, if anyone's interested in learning more about feminism in South Korea, I recommend the book Flowers of Fire by Haewon Jung. It mainly focuses on Korean feminist movements of the late 2010s, but also includes historical background and the backlash we've seen in the 2020s. And OP, I feel you. I used to live in Japan, and the casual misogyny really took me out. While there were moments of great solidarity with my Japanese colleagues and neighbors, there was also so much internalized misogyny that sometimes it felt like I was the crazy one. I moved to Europe a few years ago, and it made me realize that there was so much effed up stuff I'd normalized without even realizing it during my years in Japan. Ginger Isla says, my brother recently traveled to South Korea with two friends. They're in their late 20s. Their taxi driver told them to go to the party district and hook up with lots of girls. And then she does eye roll. I'm going to stop there because my time is running out, but join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, and share. So this was posted in the Women Dating Over 40. She says, a woman who doesn't drink. And I think that this is such an important conversation to have right now. Let's have this conversation right now. We've done it before, but I don't care. I do repeat conversations because number one, you never know who's going to see what when, but these conversations need to be had over and over and over. Some of these people need to get you a little inebriated because coercion is so much easier. Pushing past your boundaries is so much easier when you don't have your full faculties. And drinking lowers your inhibition. So let's look at what this woman over 40 is saying. She says, I don't drink. I don't care if people around me drink, and the reason I don't drink doesn't matter. I'm in menopause and feel terrible after drinking. I feel like I'm poisoned, so I made a complete break from alcohol. I've been on several dates where men got angry with me early on simply because I didn't drink. One guy texted me to berate me after our awful date, and even though I politely thanked him, I felt completely disconnected. He said it was all my fault because I was the first one to not drink on the first date to help both of us relax. I don't know if it's because they know that a tipsy woman gives them a better chance of getting laid, or if they're also dependent on alcohol that they can't develop their personalities without it. But I'm really glad that my body's aversion to alcohol allows me to eliminate these guys immediately. Both of those things in that last paragraph are so important. They want to push past boundaries. And that is the duplicity of this purity culture that we're in. They want women to say no to sex. They want us to be pure because they want to be the ones to snatch a woman's virtue. And so by getting her liquored up a little bit, she can say no, 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 no. And then it's just like, okay. And then you wear her down. That is coercion. And in any kind, like any way you slice it, it is coercion. All of the no means maybe sometimes in their brains means that they don't accept the word no. And when you have your full faculties about you and you can make clear decisions about yourself, you'll be like, this guy is okay, but am I really ready to take it to that next level? And they don't like that. So I am perfectly fine. I do understand what she said right here. I don't really drink that much, but I'm a married woman, so it's not really about me. But I do know and understand how it feels to be kind of tipsy and it not feel good. Even throughout college, I've been drunk maybe 1 or 2 times in my life. After college, when I was in my first job and there was a bunch of us younger people, they would get drunk and come to work and they looked and felt a mess. And I'm like, what is the point in doing that? So I never did it because it felt sucky. But I am so glad that women are getting to this point where saying, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right. So I'm not going to do it. And you see these people, like she said, develop their personalities. You see people who haven't yet developed a personality to where they can be interesting without getting someone a little tipsy. That's why I said this. Yep, they know they don't have an interesting enough personality without the woman being a little inebriated. This will weed men out. And it certainly will, because we've talked about this before. When you say that you don't drink or no thank you, just saying no to any of these people in any regards, just saying no, they're going to attempt to push past your no. And that's the reason why we need to have these conversations right now so that we can talk about this right now so that you can think about what you would do if you have a boundary and a person tried to push past it. Are you going to walk away? Are you going to just hold steadfast and drink your water? What are you going to do if you have a boundary and somebody tries to knock that boundary over? Crazy Cat Lady Rookie says, I think a good many men have some sort of social awareness that sex isn't an automatic on the first date. though they can hope. But I'm betting that they're counting on breaking the touch barrier sooner and with less effort with a woman who is even slightly inebriated. I'm really liking the I don't give an F attitude that comes with meno or menopause. I want all of us to gather up or build or create that I don't give an F attitude, regardless of menopause, perimenopause, whatever. Just start to get that I don't give an F attitude. Maybe someone needs to create something around the I don't give an F attitude so that we can speak that into existence, because we do want women to be able to connect if they want to, but having a mind that's free of inebriation and coercion, that has boundaries and is okay with sticking and staying fast, you need that I don't give an F attitude, because with the I don't give an F attitude, if the person sees that you have a boundary, tries to push past it, you have that I don't give an F attitude and you'll walk away. You'll block that person. Block them quicker. No PM required says, men who propose drinking when I barely know them are always shady to me. They're immediately blocked. No men with good intention would want to get you drunk. Unless I met him in a place where we're both already drunk, or if we're drinking as a group, or if we're already in an established relationship. There's no way I'm drinking with a man. Then Crazy Cat Lady Rookie says, drinking as part of a group isn't always safe either. I found out that the hard way after my divorce. I was at a home warming get together for a friend I'd known for 20 years. There were other trusted friends and a few people that I was introduced to that evening. A couple of sips into my second drink, I felt wretched. Long story short, I had been drugged by one of the new acquaintances that attended. It was a scenario that could have been safe, but apparently not. And I do believe that women do find a little bit more comfort being in a group, but like this woman said, that's not even 100% either. Aqua Bubia says, this is me too. One wine makes me itchy and wrecks my sleep since the old perimenopause. Last guy I dated was a red flag nightmare, but because I drank on dates 1 and 2 with him, felt like I should, I ended up sleeping with him too quick and everything went way too fast. Took me 16 months to break it off truly, by which time I'd spent 16 months with a red flag nightmare. Can't blame the drinks for everything, but if I ever date again, it's going to be sober. And F it if a man can't handle that. F it if a man can't handle that. There we have it, that I don't give an F attitude. And Aqua Veritas says, needing alcohol to relax gives alcoholic vibes. Bullying you into drinking on a date, especially a first one, gives grapist vibes. Don't explain, just block. Don't explain, just block. And like the person at the bottom says, perfectly put, I agree. Have a boundary. Let's talk about this stuff as a virtual community. Have a boundary. And if somebody starts pushing past a boundary, especially a boundary surrounding your safety, just don't explain, just block. Don't explain, just block. All right, let's internalize that mantra. Don't explain, just block. And like I said, we need something around the I don't give an F attitude situation. So go ahead and kind of brainstorm in the comment section with me about that. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, and share. Talk to your teens. Talk to your 20s that's about to go off to college. Let's continue to have these conversations as a virtual group. Trigger warning. This is a very disturbing and demented conversation. Listen to this title and you'll know and understand if you need to swipe away. This woman says, am I overreacting to my fiance's response if I ever got graped? So already know and understand that this is going to be a challenging conversation, and she is sharing some text messages with us. But before that, let's look at the caption. All right, here's the caption. She's 28, he's 35. She says, a bit of backstory. Me and my fiance have just celebrated our 10th anniversary last weekend and are currently trying to get pregnant. But this whole thing is giving me second doubts. We were on the phone talking about the Charlie Kirk case, and my fiance started the discussion that nobody deserves to die, especially not because of their views. On this case, I agree with him, but I said that some people do not deserve to be here. He asked me what kind of people I meant, so I said rapists, child molesters, and just generally bad people that have done awful things to others. He then asked me a random question that I did not see coming, and I was a little taken aback by. What would you do? Listen to this, y'all. This question is very triggering. It's very triggering. I'm just putting that out there. What would you do if a guy put a pew pew to your head and told you to have relations with him and give him a BJ? That is a question that he asked. What if a guy, okay, I'm just going to keep it moving. I just stayed silent for a minute because I knew it was a trick question and whatever I said was going to upset him. He didn't like that I stayed quiet, so he automatically took that as a yes and immediately hung up on me. He then proceeded to send me multiple messages asking me what my answer was. This is most of the conversation. This is not the first time he's asked me something like this, and each time he gets upset if it's not an automatic no. I've always wanted to be a mother and would do absolutely anything for my babies. If it ever came to that situation, then I think my answer would have to be yes. He doesn't like what I said and is now refusing to talk to me and is trying to end it. I don't want to lie to him and tell him that I wouldn't when I know in my heart if it was for my children that I would. Do I just let him go, or should I just tell him what he wants to hear? Is this childish on both sides? Please, any advice is welcomed. Am I overreacting by being upset that he would rather have me dead than come home to him and our children? That was such a loaded question. What kind of person asked that type of question? That's like the, would you let me die or our hypothetical children, or the whole, would you save me or our unborn child if I was in labor and you had to make the decision? What is it about some of these dudes that's more than happy or, more than willing to allow the women in their lives to die? And why do they get so upset when the women actually say, I would want to survive? It's just weird all around. But he wanted her to say, I would die for this situation. I would rather die than to do that. I want to live. Most of us want to live. It's a human thing. Your demon lord tagged me in saying, BurbNBougie, I have no words. This is absolutely atrocious. Girl, I think you are underreacting, if anything. If it's for your children, absolutely do what you need to do to get home to your children. If it's for yourself and you want to survive, then do what you want to do what you have to do to survive in that moment and get the help you need afterwards. She says, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this monster of a person. I hope you stay safe. If you can find support with your family or your local community, please do it. Don't know what your finances look like, but this would be grounds for a breakup. You're not married to this person, but ask yourself if this is the kind of BS you want to deal with for the rest of your life. You really have got to ask that question. This was a loaded question, but it should answer a lot of life conversations for her. She will see that he will always be choosing something over her or not place as much value on her life. She really needs to think about this. She's talking about, should I just let him go, or is she being childish? She's absolutely not being childish. He set her up with this impossible scenario. And here's the fiance. I hope it's an ex. I did go check before making this video. She hasn't said if she broke up with him, but he's still berating her. What's your answer to that? She says, because any answer other than no is not good enough for you, and it makes me a lady of the night. See, you want me to say no. And then he says, I don't want you to say anything but the truth. And she says, but you would rather me get shot in the head than come back to you and our babies, because I'm telling you, I would do anything for our babies. And and then he says, so your answer would be yes. She says, if it meant being here for my babies, yes, any mother would. I knew you would do this. You don't care about me. You only care about yourself. You would rather have me dead. And that's so wrong of you. You don't love me. You truly don't. And this man, listen to what he says. This is grounds for breaking up. If a person says this to you, please break up. He says, you repulse me. I'm disgusted by what you are. I've invested all of my time and money into the wrong person. Stop reaching out to me. I'm serious. Thank you. That is the closing of the relationship right there. Right there. It's over. There is no coming back from that anyway. And he says, stop reaching out to me. So she should take that as a sign. Charming Emu says, not overreacting. If you ever want your partner to choose death instead of doing what's necessary to make sure your kids have their parent, you are a monster. And to that, the OP says, this is exactly how I feel. Thank you. She needed someone to validate her feelings, and she did. She got that. S. Foxy says he's using this scenario as an excuse to treat you like run, end it. I'm serious. I'm so sorry you've invested so much time in their relationship. And I know me saying run sounds easier said than done. However, I'd immediately respond with, and if that happened to your 13-year-old daughter, what would you want her to do? Comply and live or die? Then hang the F up on him and start planning my life without him. The way he responded erased any and all good things he brought into that relationship. End of story. To not only talk to you like that, but to say, tell the truth and you do, and reacts like that is beyond a scumbag move. He's literally saying, I'd rather you die than, and I'm putting this in quotes, cheat on me, which, by the way, isn't cheating, is saving your life, which only means he's an insecure man-child. I'd nope my way out of that relationship. And then at the bottom, that person says, oh, hell no. Would ask him if a pew-pew was to the head, BJ or X with the guy, or shot to the head, what would you do? Before I got out of here, I did want to get to this comment from her. This was the last comment that she made on this post. This is the OP. She says, I was almost graped when I was 15 years old by an older guy in his late 20s. When I told my fiance a few years later when I met him, he made me feel like it was my fault, asking me why I didn't push him away harder or tell him no more. He said he was sorry that I had to go through that, but whenever he would get upset after, I would be called a whore and an attention seeker. He thinks if I were ever to get graped, that I would just do nothing. And I've tried so many times to tell him if it ever came down to it again, I would fight for my life. I'm tired of the questions and trying to prove myself. Just needed to know this wasn't normal. He's the only guy I've ever been with, but I just can't take it anymore. Thank you so much for your responses. And honestly, this type of comment right here just really, it expands on the fact that we keep telling women or sharing with women, do not share your traumas with these people, because even if they act like they are empathetic or sympathetic or whatnot, they will use it to harm you later on down the line if they get upset, because this is a major trigger point, is a major sensitive soft spot that they know that they can just touch even lightly, and it would harm you. It will harm you mentally and emotionally. And that is what this man just did to this woman. Do not share your traumas with them. If you have these type of traumas, heal from them. Talk to a therapist, a licensed therapist. Talk to somebody that actually cares, and you would imagine wouldn't use them to revisit a trauma upon you. Do not share your traumas with these people. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think. I know that this was a deep and a heavy one. Sorry, but we need to have these conversations, even when they are hard.
Ladies, how would you feel about being in a polyamorous relationship with another man? Say your husband came home from work one day and said, honey, how would you feel about another man being in our bed? Except we wouldn't all be in the bed together. You would now have to sleep in a different bed. In fact, not only would we no longer be involved sexually, but also romantically. Your new sole purpose would be to bear the children, help with the household, and tend to all of our needs. Now, of course, you'll be compensated fairly, with a handsome allowance of $300 per month. So I'm curious, do you think this arrangement would work for you? To me, it sounds like it would benefit all parties involved. Think a team, a partnership, filled with love, joy, and happiness. So, let me know what you think in the comments. I am myself looking for a wife, and I would love to have this type of arrangement. Not only would you have the love of one man, but two. And we'd be oh so happy with you.